You know, one of the great things about doing this radio thing, is you get to talk to your heroes, and one of them is about to join us. One of the iconic voices in rock and roll. One of the great singers, one of the great songwriters. Hall of Famer, went in with his bandmates from Yes a couple of years ago, finally. It was overdue. And now he's got a new solo album out called 1,000 Hands. Please welcome to the program the one and only Jon Anderson. Jon, welcome to the show, and thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mike. How's Kalamazoo?
Kalamazoo is great. Say hi to Stephanie. She's a big fan as well.
Don't, you're going to embarrass me. I'm
already starstruck. I can't believe I'm talking to Jon Anderson. This is incredible.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Listen, Stephanie's a little younger than me and you, all right, but I have to tell you, I've been a fan since, since the band began, pretty much, so I'm of that era.
Well, and what Mike and I talk about all the time is there's a very weird thing that happened with a very certain era of music, and that would be rock and roll. Your generation didn't grow, I mean, you grew up listening to what your parents listened to, but you didn't keep listening to it. Your music changed and you picked up on something else. But Mike has talked about sharing Led Zeppelin and The Who and all sorts of great bands with his kids, and it still stands up.
Yeah.
I love that, because when I see the word Kalamazoo, I always think of Glenn Miller.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you and your old mates played the Wing Stadium a few years ago as well. But I have to tell you that obviously one of the great voices in rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna fawn a little bit, and then we're gonna get to the new album and some other things. But before we do that, we were just talking to one of our friends from a venue, talking about how the venues are struggling and the crews are struggling and things like that. And it seemed like 2020, we were entering the golden age of concerts because the record business isn't what it once was. And people of your era and mine, their kids are all grown, so that they're free to go out on the road. Was that something you were looking forward to?
You bet. You know, I was on tour last year with 1,000 Hands Band from Orlando, most of them. And we were touring thinking the record was going to come out. And I would say this, 2020 is going to be just like 1960, the 60s, is when things change. And we're going to have such a big change happening in this world. And that's what I would say. The 60s is just like the 2020 now. And that's what's happening. The marching that went on in the 60s about Vietnam, about everything from what's going on, Black Lives Matter, even then was very important. And now, even more so now, the big change is coming. It's really very powerful. And, you know, the virus is a way of waking up into the next millennium, the next 10 years, and see how we can make this earth a better place for our children and our grandchildren and so on and so on.
We're here with Jon Anderson. The new album is 1,000 Hands, and it lands. What's the expression the kids use, Stephanie? Oh, drops. The album drops tomorrow, and I for one am looking forward to it. One of the things that I've always wanted to ask you, and I've had the pleasure of talking to and meeting in some cases some of the greatest voices in rock and roll. You've got such a unique voice and such a high register. How hard is it for you to keep that instrument working?
Fine-tuned, yeah.
No, I'm very, very blessed. I'm singing every day. I love singing. I'm writing music every day since we've been home for 4 months. I've been working on a lot of music that needed to get finished. And I'm surprising myself that this album, 1,000 Hands, we started 30 years ago, that my voice sounds the same.
Wow.
That's incredible.
No, that is delightful to those of us who have enjoyed your voice all these years.
Yeah.
Because these voices, and I don't want to, I certainly don't want to disparage the music that's being created today by this young generation. but in many ways, when I talk to my kids, and one of them is just about to turn 21, and she's listening to Joni Mitchell and Ricky Lee Jones, and some of these older artists, and that folk kind of thing is coming back, where it's a singer-songwriter, and I'm glad to hear that. But it just, John, it just isn't the same. I mean, I think that the 70s that was the best decade for music, period, in my opinion.
Well, you mentioned Ricky Lee Jones, and I love Ricky Lee Jones, and Joni Mitchell. I love. So I lived through that experience of Blue, the album Blue, in the late 60s. And, in the 60s, there was so much music happening, and in the 70s, 80s, and so on. And now, all you have to do now to know what's going on now, get in touch with Jacob Collier.
Jacob Collier. Okay.
Jacob Collier on YouTube. He will blow your mind. He is Mozart revisited. It's like Mozart has come back to life. It's unbelievable.
I'm writing. I don't normally do this, John. I'm writing the name down because as soon as we're done with this interview, I'm going to go check it out. We're here with Jon Anderson. The new album, 1,000 Hands, with the 1,000 Hands Band, is available tomorrow. John, I'm assuming that your bandmates in 1,000 Hands are of other generations, and if that's the case. Are these younger guys that you're working with?
Well, it's interesting. The guitarist is the same age as me, nearly. The violin player is about 22, and she's from Taiwan. The keyboard player, we have two keyboard players. One of them is from Thailand, and he plays trombone, so we have a big band sound with a saxophone player we have. Wow. And then another keyboard player called Zach, who was in the band that I worked with in 2002. I think it was the School of Rock band from Philadelphia. I went to work with them, and Zach was in that band. He was 15 years old.
Wow!
Now he's in the band.
That's great. So what's it like, especially the young pups? What's it like working with these guys? Does it invigorate you with their enthusiasm and so forth?
Well, they're dedicated, which is one thing that I am, and I love a band of musicians who listen to my ideas and fulfill the ideas and enjoy doing it. And the band is fantastic. We toured last year all over America, and except the Kalamazoo. So we got to come this year.
Yes, you do.
We're cleaning the State Theater as we speak, John, and anticipating
sanitizing everything.
We're sanitizing everything. It's 1,000 Hands. It's new from Jon Anderson. John, what a pleasure it is to speak with you, and I'll tell you what, folks, not only one of the greatest voices in rock and roll, but one of the great songwriters as well.
No doubt.
We can't wait to listen to the album, and we can't wait to have you come to Kalamazoo. Come back to Kalamazoo.
Yes.
How about that?
Thank you so much, you guys. I wish you well, okay?
You got it. You too.
Thank you.